friend ever talk to you about the melting pot? Whatever happened to the melting pot? Can we turn on the stove again, please? Here's what I don't know. I don't know how long we can go on like this, celebrating our diversity before we collapse under the weight of our diversity, or until my head pops. Dan Restrepo, he is the director of America's Project at the Center for American Progress, a center that doesn't really sound like it would fold in me into their diversity. Dan, don't you think it would be better not to have separate buses by language?
The particulars of the Minnesota case, the school district clearly messed up. Leaving those poor kids at school that day. But this is kind of beside the point. We get kind of hung up on symbolism and
Wait a minute. This is not symbolism. This is immersion. There is something to be said. You know what? I took French in school. I can't speak a word of French. You know why? I never used it. If you're going to learn a language, the way to really get it going is to use it every day. Why wouldn't you share buses?
There are a lot of ways to learn languages. English is my second language, and I think I handle it pretty well, having grown up in a Spanish-speaking household. There's any number of ways. Immersion is one way of doing it, but we can't be in a position where we isolate people because they don't speak English. We can't be telling them that you are other, that you're not part of us, that we don't want to deal with your issues and your problems because you haven't gotten to the point of learning English.
Wait a minute, how did this get turned around? That's exactly the opposite of what we're talking about. We're not isolating people because, I'm sorry, you don't speak English. We're isolating people because you don't speak Hmong.
In this particular example, the school district has chosen...
Which is what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The school district has chosen to go this route, has chosen to go a route where they're trying to put kids in a comfortable setting for them to be able to learn. This is bilingual education. They're not just learning Hmong, they're learning English. And they're using the native language that these kids bring to the table as a bridge to learning English and to becoming a better part of our society, or more fully part of our society.
Here's what look, I have absolutely no problem with. I don't think that much has changed. And correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think that much has changed between now and 1900, when all the immigrants came here. The parents generally didn't speak the language, but they did one thing that I don't know is happening today. They insisted that their children learn the language. Is that happening today?
It's certainly happening today. Today's immigrants are learning English as fast or faster than any previous immigrant group of immigrants in the history of the country. And your concern that children aren't learning language is as old as the Republic. It's older than the Republic. Benjamin Franklin wrote in colonial times about Germans coming to the Philadelphia area and his big concern that they were sending the least intelligent of the Germans to Philadelphia, and that the children of the Germans weren't learning English. Franklin was as wrong then as you are today, so you're in good company.
You know what, my friend? I don't know if that's true. I'm German descent, and that would make a case for Ben Franklin. I don't speak English very well, and I obviously am not one of the brightest. From the immigrants from 1900, Ellis Island, it was huge, and it changed the very fabric of our nation. It changed us, and for the better. What are the changes that we're going to see? Because I just read a stat. This is a bigger wave of immigration than we saw even back in the early 1900s, around the turn of the century last time.
Well, it actually hasn't gotten to that point. We're still at the number of foreign-born, or the percentage of foreign-born in the United States is lower than it was between 1890 and 1920. That counts everybody. That's according to the Census Bureau. That counts the folks who are documented and undocumented. So that counts everybody. So we're not at a historic peak of immigration. But you're right. It changed society. It changed American society in the 1900s, early 1900s, and it's certain to change society moving forward. But it's always been for the better, and there's no reason to believe this isn't for the better. We can't be afraid of change, and being afraid of what these immigrant groups are doing or not doing.
You're exactly right. You are exactly right. Immigrants changed us, and they changed us for the better. They absolutely did. But I will correct your English, if I may. May I, Dan?
Certainly.
Not undocumented. Illegal. It's an English word. There is a difference. Dan, thanks a lot. While we're on the subject of assimilation or lack thereof, there is now a pizza chain down in Texas that is allowing their customers to pay for their pizza with pesos. Obviously, it's been creating some controversy. But wait,